Derek, how beneficial of those 2 weeks being that you've played with the players in that time off?
Yeah. I think obviously it's a step forward for one or two of the boys who's been injured. Obviously, Matty Kennedy's managed to play a reserve game, and would now be considering a bit more closer to starting games. Vassell's a bit closer. He's out. He's been back running now for 2 weeks, so he's just at that kind of end process of his rehabilitation, we hope. And Stuart Findlay is back running as well. So again, the game will probably come too quick for Stu and Kyle. But we obviously get into the international break after Saturday's game. We'd like to think that both those lads would be in contention for St Mirren, all being well. So I think from that point of view it's been beneficial, but I'd rather be involved in the cup competition. You know, it's weird when you're different when it's international duty. International break and nobody's playing except the national teams, but when there's football going on domestically, you want to be part of it. So it felt a wee bit. Felt as though I was repeating myself while having a game this weekend, people speaking to me, so and much rather be involved in the cup competitions. But in terms of us just preparing now, getting a wee bit longer to prepare for Hibs, it's been a wee bit of a good break, because I think at the time there's certain lads, the ones included and one or two others, who could do with just some getting their training minutes built up, and Matty's one that's benefited most for that, I think.
And even though they might not make this game this weekend, the leaders that both Stuart and Kyle are, how good is it to have them back around the squad? What difference does that make? Well,
that is because they're even speaking with a wee bit more encouragement for themselves, a wee bit more positivity. You can see the light at the end of the tunnel. You know, I think that you're right to say both lads. I mean, Stu's my Carter Vickers. You know, he's been a big emphasis on how well we've done last season, a big part of that. And Kyle's the captain and leads by example at the top end of the pitch. You know, I think that we've missed that physicality and that leadership quality from both lads, to be honest.
And this is the first of 2 home games before the split. How important is this home form going to be for you in these last 4 games?
Yeah, I think every game's going important. I think I don't think we can just focus and concentrate solely on the home form, but obviously the home form in the main has been pretty good. The next home game up, we're in against a team who have got in decent form. You know, Davey and Liam have got them going well. Despite losing the cup tie, they were still in the cup tie against Celtic. So I don't think that's going to derail them. So we expect a tough game. I think Hibs will come in big numbers in terms of support. There'll be a lot of expectation. And the thing that each team's got now, you're up against a team that's got plenty to play for. Hibs are pushing for third spot. We're pushing for our own cause. So I think every game's got a real meaning behind it, and we've just got to make sure we concentrate on our performance. There was no doubt it was a tough week for us. You know, three games where we actually felt performance-wise we deserved something from the game, but at this stage of the season with 9 games to go, you'd rather just get a win one way or the other, even if it means a poorer performance. It's just about scraping wins and getting the job done, and we feel that there's wins in us. It's important that we try and get stronger as we go along, but ultimately we've got to try and rein in the teams above us. I think the league is so unusual in terms of how tight it is. I think from 6th down, nobody can breathe easy, really. So we've all got our work to do, and hopefully we can do it well between now and then.
And you mentioned that they're trying to get the teams above you. Psychologically, how important is it that it is looking up the way and not looking at the teams behind you?
Well, I think it's important for us as a staff and as the players to be positive about it, and you know, set about the task. It's there in front of us. It's clear as day what has to be done. We've got games to win, and you know, we're not thinking anything other than that, really. So you know, it's combined wins. It's unbeaten runs that get the job done, and that's what we're looking to try and do and find some good form. I think performance-wise, it's not been too bad, but ultimately, as I said, it's myself, the players, staff, supporters. We all just want to see a winning team, and hopefully we can get that on Saturday.
And we touched on it a minute ago, but what do you make of the job David Gray's done overall, given how tough his start was and that unbeaten run they went on up until Sunday?
Yeah, I think it'll be good for him going forward, you know what I mean, because I think sometimes you don't find out about yourself until you get through a difficult period, and a lot of times younger managers are a consequence of that, and they pay the ultimate price. But you know, I think you know, any time you go through, whether you're an experienced manager, a younger manager, if you've been through a difficult period, you know how to act, you know how to deal with things, stay consistent, I think, and trust how you work. But they have done well. Good players, Hibs. Nobody's ever denied that they're not good players. So it was probably more of a surprise that they weren't getting more results at the start of the season than it is to what they're getting now. I mean, they've got a bit of everything. I think the change of shape's helped, and I think that he deserves credit for that. So there's no doubt they've done well and raised the expectations to where a team like Hibs really should be expecting of themselves.
And the Scotland team came out today, we saw Lennon Miller and James Wilson, 2 young players included. How much of an incentive is that for players like Bobby Wales and David Watson, who can kind of like see that pathway that young players are getting a chance in the Scotland national team?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think we're quite pleased with the fact that we've got, I think, 13 or 14 recognised call-ups throughout the age groups for this international break. So I think that's indicative. We've got an illustration, of players that we've got within the groups. But yeah, it should be incentive for all players to, if you're playing regularly and doing well in the Scottish Premier League, then you're normally under the eye of the Scotland manager. So it gives huge encouragement to these, And I think that for us, the more that we can get involved in an international setup, I think it's great for the experience. I think it gives them that all-round the all-round benefit. They test themselves against different types of opponents, different types of games, and hopefully it gives the players added confidence. We've obviously got a few players in the 21s, and we've got Brad will be away with the national team in Northern Ireland, but we'd like to try and get to the stage over a period that we've got more involved in the senior squad.
And what does that do for trying to lure players to Kilmarnock? If you can show that there's a pathway for young players in the 21s, 19s, or you talk about Brad in the national team as well? Yeah,
and likewise for Bobby. I feel as though Bobby, I think if he looks even at James Wilson getting called up, somebody who's young and playing and scoring in the Premier League, as is Bobby. Different types of players, but there's similar kind of pathways and similar in terms of their development. So I think it should give them all encouragement, and I firmly believe that Bobby being here longer will be the right move for him. Ideally, I've got my Kelly head on here, and I want Bobby to be here for our club and for our cause, but I actually think it would be really good. I'd be devastated if Bobby was to leave, knowing that if he performs well with us, I'm sure he can get into the international setup, I've no doubt about it. And young David, who is obviously somebody who's impressed people every time he plays. So we're under 18s are in the Scottish Cup final as well, so we've got a lot of good things working underneath at the minute, and we've got a lot of good staff working well. Chris Butt's team's done brilliant for the 18s, so it's good that we've got that kind of platform, and it's underpinning, but ultimately we've just got to deal with first team business ultimately on Saturday, and hopefully we can do that.